Hey, folks, welcome to. Let me turn my alarm off. Good heavens. Welcome to the Reformation Gun Club. I started to say the Good Time Happy Hour. Haven't done that in a couple of weeks. Uh, this is our November Online Hangout. Um, and yes, I know it's December. I get it. Um, we missed last month. It was supposed to be last weekend, and I'm in new digs. Um, we uh, we have I moved my office, swapped rooms in our house with my daughter who needed a bigger bedroom, and in undertaking that task of moving everything, I misunderestimated just how much effort it would take to make that move. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of stuff. Um, Mostly it's mine problem. Her furniture and everything was pretty easy to move. Mine was not so much. There's lots of computer equipment and audio equipment and books and knickknacks and all kinds of stuff. And uh, putting the uh, putting up the soundproofing and all that sound treatment stuff took a while. And then the last thing and oddly enough the most important that I failed to plan for um, was internet. Didn't have internet. That was really smart. So had to reschedule last month's hangout for today. I'm not sure why that banner is sitting on top of my face. Let me turn that off. Although while it's there, as you can, okay, all right, this is going off to a great start. armedlutheran.us/duty. If you are looking for if you would like a great gift for the Christian gun enthusiast in your life, um, armedlutheran.us/duty takes you to Amazon, where you can get the Duty to Defend book, which has lots of awesome articles from wonderful Lutheran pastors from around the country. Our own Pastor John Bennett, Reverend Paul Kane. We've got a transcript from my interview with Pastor Brian Wolfmueller. We've got interviews with Tyrell Bramwell and Jason Reed and my old pastor, Ralph Abernathy, Evan Gegline from Table Talk Radio. It's a fantastic book, and the contributors, their work was amazing, and it is a terrific opportunity, a great gift for those of you who would like to share with the like I said, with the Christian gun owners in your life. So check that out. That's still available at Amazon. Um, like I say, it is the Reformation Gun Club online hangout. Let me give you an idea of what we're going to be doing this month. Since this is actually November's, we are still going to do a hangout for December. And that is going to take place in 2 weeks, the weekend before Christmas. It'll be our last event of the year. And we'll be doing some back in July. We gave away a bunch of prizes. We gave away some books, and we gave away uh, some uh, some goodies. So we'll have some goodies to give away. We'll be drawing names, and if you're a member of the Reformation Gun Club, you'll be in that drawing. And depending on your membership level, if you would like to join the membership, the Reformation Gun Club, as I mention every week on the show, the Gun Club is a group of just amazing people who put their money where their mouth is. They appreciate the show, and they want to see it continue, and they support it with their annual and their monthly contributions. So check it out, armedlutheran.us/gun club. You get access to lots of exclusive content, these monthly online hangouts, and lots more for as little as $1 a month. So check that out, armedlutheran.us/gun club. All right, coming up tomorrow is going to be episode number 291. And we'll be talking about I'm flying solo for that one. Pastor Bennett and I couldn't get our schedules together this week. He is covered up with, as you might imagine, as all pastors are this time of year, covered up with lots of work, and also he is he's dealing with basketball tournaments, and as he said, there's not enough coffee or whiskey to deal with it all. So he's hopefully we'll get together with him next week for episode 292. But tomorrow's episode is a response to, and I want to get your thoughts on this, is a response to the interview that Alec Baldwin did with ABC News, which I thought was just, it's strange that he decided to do this in the midst of an ongoing criminal investigation. I don't think it helped his case any. I thought it was bizarre that he would want to do it, and I was really mystified by a number of his answers to the questions that were posed to him. It was interesting to hear from him the kind of the layout of things, what happened, and what was going on when the shooting took place. There's been lots of, the initial responses from the pro-gun and conservative media was naturally very negative. But it was, from what I could tell, most of it initially was based just on what people had read other people saying about it. They hadn't actually watched the interview, and I would imagine that most people have at this point. Or if you're kind of like me, you don't really want to listen to what Alec Baldwin has to say because he's a douche. But I did want to hear it. I didn't want to just take what other people were saying about it and comment on that, or take that all just based on what other people were saying. I wanted to hear it for myself. I wanted to see his face. I wanted to hear his voice. So I endured that for you and watched the whole thing. And tomorrow's show is sort of a commentary take by take on the major points from that interview, the major takeaways, because I think there are some important takeaways from it. I think there's a lot of interesting things said, like the way he describes the layout of the scene. And then, of course, his description, his claim that he didn't pull the trigger and the gun went off. But based on the way he describes what happened, it's very possible he didn't have to pull the trigger for what happened to happen. And the most important takeaway, I think, from it is his explanation of why he pointed his gun at the woman that he shot, Helena Hutchins. He tried to excuse that by saying, well, that's what, you never do that. You never point a gun at somebody unless you're told to do it by the person. And so he kind of threw her under the bus and said, well, she told me to do it. I did what she told me to do. And we trusted that the gun was empty. So, and he blamed this on his, what he called a 40-year protocol or safety protocol that has never failed him until now, tragically. The takeaway from that being that maybe you should have done a little more work. Maybe you should have taken it upon yourself to actually make sure things were safe instead of just assuming. Because, yeah, maybe you got by with it for 40 years, but all it takes is one mistake, and now somebody's dead. And yeah, it's a hard lesson to learn. And unfortunately, it wasn't Alec Baldwin who paid to learn that lesson. Someone else did. So it's a lengthy breakdown. I hope you'll check it out. Episode 291 tomorrow will drop at 6:00 Central. Why is my phone going off? What are you doing, alarm? Good Lord. My apologies. So let's send out some invites here and see if we can get some folks to show up. See if anybody would like to join us from the Reformation Gun Club. Another thing that happened this week that I would love to get your thoughts on was, of course, the shooting at Oxford High School in Michigan, and something else happened um, relating to the parents, and this is kind of, I wouldn't say important to me, but it kind of resonates with me because something that I've talked about on the Reformation Gun Club exclusive podcast, the Good Time Happy Hour. Um, I talked about, and I've talked about this on other shows, both on Armed Lutheran Radio and when I guest appeared on the Polite Society podcast a couple of years ago. We talked about the responsibility of parents to secure their firearms. And so, what's basically going to happen, and what has happened, is that the district attorney in whatever county that is, where the shooting took place, they are charging the parents of the shooter um, with, I don't remember, I think it's a manslaughter charge in both counts. And um, so and there's some naturally there's some debate about whether or not that's appropriate. There's some debate about whether they should be charged at all. For those of you who have not heard the details, the parents apparently bought a gun for their 15-year-old son, who subsequently posted um, in social media photos of said gun, and here's my baby, basically, and then he goes to school and is caught researching ammunition online in class on his phone. That prompts a phone call to the parents. And the parents' response is not to call the school back, but to text the son and say, LOL, just don't get caught next time. They then discover apparently he had written a note and drawn very graphic pictures of people being shot to death with words like life is meaningless or something like this, or my world is dead, make the voices stop, and things like this. That prompted another call to parents. Parents showed up, refused to take the child home or to put him in counseling, so they left the child at school. And for some reason, and this is going to be interesting, the school sent the kid back to class. Knowing that there are these photos of him with a gun, there he has drawings of the gun or of shooting people. He has some very scary stuff that he's drawn and written. They sent him back to class. They didn't search his locker. They didn't search his backpack, which they now suspect contained the gun. And of course, we know what happened next. So I am perfectly in favor, and I've said this in the past, of charging the parents with something. It depends on the charge. Now, I'm not crazy about the way the district attorney phrased it. The district attorney said that she was charging them to send a message. That's not what charging people is for. Justice is for serving justice. If the purpose of charging them should be to serve the purpose of justice, not to send a message to people. If all you're trying to do is send some sort of a safety message to people, then you shouldn't be charging these people with a crime. Now, if you feel like they committed a crime, then yeah, charge them. If this is criminal negligence, charge them. But don't do it simply to send a message. That didn't make any sense to me. I disagree with that reasoning, but I'm not opposed to the idea, and I've said this many times, I'm not opposed to the idea of charging the parents because the parents didn't secure the firearm. We've seen in multiple cases, this one, Santa Fe High School here in Texas, and Newtown, where the shooter actually acquired the firearms, or acquired is not quite obtained the firearms by stealing them from parents. In the case of Newtown, obviously you can't really hold the parent accountable because he killed his parents. So let's throw that one out. But in the case of Santa Fe, in the case of Oxford, these parents, okay, it's fine if you bought a firearm to take your son to the range and to teach him to shoot. But obviously the kid's got mental health issues. The kid's got problems. And still you bought him a gun. And on top of that, you didn't secure it. It was apparently kept unlocked in a nightstand, which on this show, going all the way back to the beginning, you can go back to Aaron Israel's self-defense segments, his personal defense segments, going way back on this show we've talked about, is absolutely stupid. You don't a nightstand, especially if you have children in the home, or if you have people coming in and out of your house who might gain access to the firearm, you simply don't leave a gun in your nightstand. It's just stupid. So, and I've said this before, and I think this is appropriate, that we as, and the prosecutor mentioned this. She said that gun owners have a heavy responsibility, and we do. And one of those responsibilities is to safely store and secure our firearms. Now, I don't agree with the idea that you keep it unloaded and you store the ammunition and the gun separately and all that crap. But at the very least, you put it in a safe, especially if you have children in the home who might gain access to the firearm. And especially if you have a mentally disturbed teenager in the home who might take that firearm and go kill somebody with it. So yeah, I'm all for charging the parents, not to send a message, but to punish them because had they secured the firearm, had they kept the child away from the firearm, they made it difficult for him to just pick it up and take it to school, then Oxford doesn't happen. But there's also the question of why the school didn't search the backpack, why the school sent the child back to class. And why aren't we going to hold them accountable for that? I think we should. If we're going to hold the parents accountable for their failings, I think we need to hold the school accountable, because I think anyone in their right mind, seeing the note that he left and the photos of him with a gun, put two and two together, if you get something other than 4, then I think you ought to be held accountable for that. Let's see. We got Edwin is with us. Edwin, good to have you here. I know you're only listening when you're doing chores. Don't work too hard. Thank you for your continued support. And over there in the People's Republic of Illinois. Let's see. What else is going on this week? I had a note somewhere, something else I wanted to bring up. Omicron. We talked to, remember when we talked last year sometime when we did the Coronapalooza shows, and we talked about how we warned, and I know many other people did, that once government gets the taste of the kind of power that they were acquiring in shutting people down and locking people up and closing businesses and telling you what was essential and what wasn't, and all of that stuff, that once they got a taste of that power, they wouldn't let it go. Well, here we go again. We got this variant of the month club, and Omicron is the latest, and apparently it's really not that big of a deal. There's a doctor in South Africa who discovered it, who's treated patients in South Africa with it, who said, this really isn't a big deal. I don't understand why we're freaking out, because most of the people who are getting sick are just having mild symptoms, like they've got a cold, and they're fine. But of course, it doesn't matter. We're going to freak out every time there's a new variant, and government is going to start locking everything down again if they can. Have you seen it? What's going on in Australia is frightening. where they're locking people down and talking about sending the unvaccinated to camps. No, that's Germany that's doing that. Germany's talking about sending the unvaccinated to concentration camps. I think they even use the word concentration. Yeah, like that was never a bad idea. We never had a problem with that before in Germany. But it's astounding that so-called free countries are doing this in response to and compare how states like Texas and states like Florida are dealing with it. Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Arkansas, South Dakota. You look at the states that are open, and we've been open for a long time here in Texas. In North Carolina, back where I grew up, there's still restrictions on things. In the Northeast, out in California, it's a completely different story. They're just not going to give up that power, and the president is still pushing for more and more restrictions that he himself won't even abide by. You saw him the other day in some place that had a big sign on the door that said you must wear a mask to enter this premises, and there he is shopping with no mask on like an idiot. There was an interesting. Have you paid attention at all to the other thing that caught my attention this week? And I know everyone here is a fan of the show. You've probably paid attention to it, but it caught my attention the way. Did you notice the difference in the media's coverage of the Waukesha, the guy who drove his SUV through the crowd of Christmas carolers, the Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin? Compare that to the Kenosha, Wisconsin, just right down the road, the coverage of the Rittenhouse trial, for example, and the way the media is treating Kyle Rittenhouse, even after he's been exonerated, as he should have been. He should never have gone to trial in the first place. But they're still calling him a white supremacist. They're still suggesting that he was some sort of vigilante murderer. And yet, all the headlines about the Waukesha incident were to call it a tragedy, were to say that it was caused by an SUV, that they didn't describe it as an attack. They were careful not to describe the perpetrator because he happens to be of the wrong political and ethnic persuasion. It's gotten to a point where we've known this. You can't trust the media. The media are just not going to be unbiased. They're not going to be fair about anything, even the stuff you can see with your own eyes. And so I thought the coverage of the Waukesha incident was rather, it was astounding. It was you're being gaslit constantly. And it was striking to me how, and they get lit up in social media. People just absolutely torch them for their stupid headlines and the way they're writing in the articles. And yet they keep on doing it. They don't know any better. It's at what point is the bottom line going to kick them in the face, and they finally decide, maybe we ought to do this journalism thing. But then again, it has the financial concerns, and the bottom line hasn't bothered them so far. If you look at the latest ratings in the news programming space, I think 14 of the top 15 rated shows in news are Fox, and only one of the top 15, which happens to also, I think, be in the top 10, maybe 9th, is from MSNBC. And Tucker Carlson's show, which I don't watch very much, by the way, but it is what it is. But Tucker Carlson gets higher ratings than CNN and MSNBC combined, the entire networks. At what point does the financial At what point does the bottom line sort of kick in so that the media realizes that maybe they need to change direction? I don't know why I asked that question. It's a silly question. It really is. I mean, we said after Trump won, we thought, and they would come, that the left would come to some under recognition that, well, maybe we were a little too extreme, and that they would actually do a better job. And that didn't happen. It's just doubled down on stupid. So I don't know at what point that realization that hits the media. I don't think it ever will. I think the age of fair and honest journalism is long dead. Anyhow, so let's see. What else we got going on? Let's see here. So I think I am going to. I don't think I'm going to push for the entire hour tonight, because I have been not feeling well today, and I'm struggling through it, and I want to save what I said. What's on my mind, I said when I recorded episode 291, which I want you to all listen to tomorrow, and then send me your thoughts. That'll be dropping next week, or not next week, tomorrow at 6 o'clock Central. Then next week, episode 292 will be, hopefully, will be myself and Pastor Bennett for the final Clean God and Gun show of the year, and then we'll have a final variety show the week after that, which is the week before Christmas. The weekend before Christmas, we will have our actual December online hangout, and we'll be giving away some cool prizes. I've got some Armed Lutheran tumblers to give away. I've got some books. I've got an Armed Lutheran coffee mug and some other things. So we've got some prizes that I'm gathering together, and we're going to be drawing like we did in July. So we'll be giving away some stuff at the in a couple of weeks at the online hangout, and hopefully I'll roust up the entire cast to hang out with us as well for the last time to wrap up the year, and that will be it for 2021. We'll run the annual Christmas special the weekend after that, and then I think we'll probably do a best of for New Year's week, and then we'll be back at the top of the new year. Where's my calendar? And let me do a little planning here, live and in person. I know that's exactly what you wanted to watch, right? Calendar. So episode 292 is tomorrow. Then we'll have episode, or 291 is tomorrow. 292 will be on the 12th, and then on the 18th will be our December online hangout with all the prizes and goodies. December 19th will be our final live, if you want to call it that, our final episode of 2021 will be a variety show on the 19th. That'll be episode 293. Episode 294 will be our Christmas episode. We'll have that on the 26th, and then we'll be done. We'll be off, probably take a couple of weeks, and then our first episode of 2022 will be January 9th. That's our plan. So hopefully 2022 will be a better year. That would be nice. So maybe we'll talk a little bit in our next episode, our next hangout, about what we hope 2022 will bring. Surely it will be better than 2021 and 2019. In any case, so I'm going to wrap it up here. I want to thank all of you for watching and listening. Hope you all have a great night, and be sure to tune in tomorrow for episode number 291, and then let me know your thoughts about that show. I know there's lots of discussion about Baldwin and his stuff, his interview and all of his stupidity. So I'm going to end it here. Thank you all for watching. Have a great weekend. Have a blessed Sunday, and I will talk to you again next time.